So, looks like you're keeping your bod pretty tight.
You looking pretty good yourself? Wow, we had some good times together, didn't we?
We had some great times. We're about to have some more.
Uh-oh. I know that look.
I need you, Kayla. It's serious. I'm putting together a team.
Then I'm in.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Nagy. I'm here once again with my co-host Liam Francis McNeil. Liam, 2024, the numbers seem to get higher as we move along.
Yes, that's mathematics for you, Nagy. It's certainly they go higher, they don't go any lower, or else we'd be stuck in some sort of loop, as Martin McFly found in that seminal film, The Time That Looped Around.
Alan Turing has a lot to answer for this advancement in mathematics that keeps this time moving forward. And I tell you what, 2024, you just look back and you think, gee, we missed out on a lot of those years.
I like to look back and think, boy, wasn't Turing's legacy really shattered by the bloody British government of the time. The man changed history.
They did.
And yet we look back at him as some bastard who was nothing but a tool of the Polish.
They did. I think so. Yeah, because he solved the what was
the Enigma code. Enigma. He solved the Enigma machine code.
I was about to call it the Eureka code, and that's what they said when they solved it. Eureka. That's what the Polish did when they solved it. No, they got the machine. I can't remember. There's a whole history there involving Turing, a big computer,
and the Eureka Stockade.
The Eureka Stockade.
Going back to Australia's original labour movement, ladies and gentlemen.
But Liam, as we move forward in the years and, you know, the kilos around the belt get a bit larger and the hairs on the head start to get a little fewer. But I tell you what, what's also getting fewer, Liam, is the days before the next game of the Newcastle Knights in the rugby league competition.
Yeah, it's been a very, very dark time in Nagy and myself's lives ever since all those years ago, Nagy, those years ago when the NRL season finished.
Yeah.
It's as though I don't remember.
It's a long time ago.
Time immemorial, if you will.
Yeah, sitting in a dark room, wondering. But I tell you what, the NRL.com has put some wonderful compilations together of the Newcastle Knights season.
And so they should.
Yeah.
Far too long have we been ignored by the NRL and their digital arm media. Thank you, Peter Volandis.
Thank you, finally.
Yeah.
But of course, Liam, we are joined by a brand new sponsor. This year is the Wickham Park Hotel, the best pub to watch the Newcastle Knights in the heart of Newcastle once again.
Absolutely. Where else would we rather be, Nagy, than the most convenient street in Newcastle?
It opens up and it's outdoors, but you're indoors, but you're outdoors.
It's a bit of a what's that thing where it's one thing but it's not?
Yeah,
a dichotomy.
A dichotomy.
It's a dichotomy.
Yeah, it's like got a whole alfresco feel.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, but it's
also coming back this year, Nagy, if we could for a moment,
please.
The boys. We've
The
got
lads.
our friends here behind the screens.
Yes,
the real magic behind the show.
The real gems.
They do things and we don't know what they're doing, and we're eternally grateful to them for it.
They do things we watch.
Yeah.
But Liam, it's very important that the time for the news. First news for 2024, Liam. It's very important this year because in an off-season, you have things that happen that disgrace the game. But this year, there was less of that. Almost none of it. So I think, as the old adage once says, no news is no news.
Now, I think the real disgrace, Nagy, this offseason, the real disgrace, Joust, that has left me fuming. The disgrace is the lack of disgrace.
Yeah.
It's a very confusing time, something we're not used to, and honestly kind of boring. I didn't think I'd miss the rugby league off-season scandals, but I guess I do.
Our good friends over at the Integrity Commission, of course, Jonathan Farnham and
They're
Richard.
calling me every day. Stir something up, boys. I don't know.
And
send a scandalous picture to one of the players or something. I don't know.
Create a bit of a fire. You know, you can't have fire without smoke, or other way around. I'm not sure. Vice versa. But, you know, you need both of them together.
Yeah.
And the smoke is also terrible. But, Liam, they decided instead of to focus on a destruction, if you will, they said, don't look at Australia. Don't look at the players, hey, this, everyone knows that there's got to be a bit of controversy. Have a look over here. It's America, Las Vegas.
The very city of disgrace itself.
Is it Las Vegas or Las Vegas?
La Vega, I think is the correct pronunciation. It stands for Mr. Vegas.
Mr. Vegas.
Yeah, he was the man who built the first casino there.
Yes.
It's just a humble businessman decided to fleece people out of their money and has become a trillionaire.
John Vegas.
John Vegas. John Vegas.
Mr. John Vegas. Spent some time in France, so he's become Mr. Las Vegas.
I believe it's Spanish.
Las
Vegas.
Rough translation. But it still holds up.
We're no linguists, Justice, and I hope you don't expect us to be.
Certainly,
I hope that's not the standard you hold us to.
We're certainly not cunning linguists. And now, Liam, they decided to hold a game or a double header, which is, used to be quite rare to see a double header, but now it's a bit of an old hat. And
old hats are good hats.
They are. Yeah.
I found a couple of hats in the off-season that I haven't seen in years, and I like them, and I brought them back into the repertoire. So old hat is not necessarily bad hat.
I've got this one on. When's the 30-year anniversary?
30 years ago.
Was that?
That's not mathematics. No. Apologies, Justice.
Was that recent? That's quite recent, isn't it?
This one was sitting in Mum and Dad's garage for 3 years.
That one looks a whole lot better than this one. I think we can all make that clear assessment. So
that's because I have a much finer noggin.
Yeah, that's true. Also, yeah, I have a big head, so it fills out a hat.
So I've got a narrow head.
Yeah.
Mine's narrow.
Yours is narrow?
It's long.
Never trust
I got tiny ears. I used to get this a lot in school. People
Yeah.
would tell me I have really small ears.
Yeah.
It was such an interesting thing that, usually people in school, if they find something interesting about your appearance, they'll bully you mercilessly.
Of
People
course.
will just say, hey, Liam, you've got small ears, and then just move on.
Yeah.
They just go on with their day.
They point it out and then
Yeah.
let you live with it as a cornerstone memory for the rest of your life.
They'd compare it. They'd hold their fingers and they'd say, hey, Liam, here's your ear. Here's an ear of a year 3 student.
Oh, there, yeah,
It's the same ear.
Yeah, I've got. I think small ears as well, but big head. You see, regular size head, normal size ears, big head, small. It's all relative.
It's relativity.
All relative.
It's a relativity problem, which
But
I
if you-
believe is Mr. Einstein's thing.
But
Alfred Einstein.
Alfred
Yeah.
Einstein. If you do this sort of measurement, it's the same as when you're trying to find a measurement and you go, oh, that's about that cabinet height, and then you try to go to the next wall, and then
See, I do it with my hands
like this,
perpendicular. Yeah.
like this, right? Yeah.
I've
And
got
then
that
you think,
much space. I need to cut a piece of wood like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm no handyman.
Yeah, that's right. Neither of us are very handy. If you haven't grasped that already, now the important
They
thing.
actually employed us to build the stadium, and that's why it didn't work. It was the wrong shape and the wrong size.
Mr. Volandis decided to take us over to Las
What a
Vegas.
shill. Mr. Volandis, the gambling shill, the Murdoch shill. And
Yeah.
you know what? He might have actually shit out a success.
I know. Liam, what was your thoughts when, let's say with the game's just about to start, and I was with you at this point.
Yeah.
So what was your thoughts
At the
on
Wickham Park Hotel.
At the
ladies
Wickham
and
Park
gentlemen.
Hotel, we're both there, ready to dive right into the first round of rugby league. And what was your thoughts going into the Vegas game? Were you thinking success, or this is going to be an utter failure where everyone breaks their ankle?
Now, funnily enough, in the lead up to the game, I was actually quietly optimistic. Now, you and I would know, and our men behind the microphones would know, and all our jousters would know. We're not Volandis shills.
No.
We don't push his agendas.
Anti-Volandi.
We're anti-Volandi. Yeah, I think that's a good little rhyme you made there,
Yeah.
Navy. But listening to several rugby league podcasters and journalists, and again, not Murdoch shills, independent rugby league podcasters, independent, the backbone of rugby league,
Honest.
who are over there in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
They were raving about it.
They said it's great.
There was jerseys everywhere. There was events happening all over the place. They did say it was great.
They said it was great, yeah.
There was a lot going on, and the way they were talking about it, and the way they were, the vibe they were describing around the city of La Vera was actually really quite exciting. And while
Which is hard to get a percentage of the vibe because the whole place is vibing.
Yeah, it's a vibing city, and to kind of isolate one vibe out of a city of vibes, I think is very hard. And so, in the lead up to it, again, not being a Volandis shill, I was really praying that it would fail miserably and he would fall upon his sword.
Yes.
And yet, I think it's actually kind of worked pretty well.
Kind of worked out well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I tell you what.
hate to say it. It physically pains me to say it, but a Volandis initiative may have proven to be quite successful.
I was not looking forward to it. I said, thank God the Newcastle Knights are no longer, no part of it. I didn't want them to go over there.
Mostly for scandal reasons.
Well, that, of course, but I didn't want also them to think, I don't say to you, Liam, as a sports scientist, I don't say, hey, I've got a great idea for your team that you've just been training for the last 4 months for this season that's going to go for 6 months, and you need all your players to be finely tuned. Hey, why don't you across the world. Hey, you want to go across there? We'll just go over there and we'll come straight back. You're like, that sounds like a terrible disruption to our preparation.
It does sound like it, doesn't it, Nagy?
It does sound like that, but they decided to do it with 4 teams, Manly, South, Brisbane, and the Roosters.
Arguably 2 of the least likeable teams, and 2 who were just, somewhat unlikable.
They're all right, yeah.
But they really picked 4 teams that could have had some mediocre rugby league, but didn't.
But they didn't.
The rugby league was good.
We had these 2 very different styles of matches. The first game, the Sea Eagles versus the Rabbitohs. And firstly, I'll just quickly say that Jason Subb went on one of the US talk shows.
Yes, that well-known superstar, Jason Subb.
Jason Subb. And he said,
it could be worse in the lead-up, so just to bring some humour to the whole thing, Jousters. In the lead-up to the game, of course, they wanted superstars over there to advertise the game. They wanted the heavy hitters of who's who of the NRL. They sent Aaron Woods, a man so unforgettable that I just forgot his name, and Campbell Graham, who has all the personality and charisma of a serial killer. They're like, oh, yeah, those 2 will get the seppos watching. They're the ones. They're our guys.
They got this 6'6" man in Jason Subb over there, and he said, who are you playing? He says, well, we're North Sydney. We're very, very northern beaches of Sydney, and we're playing another Sydney club, South Sydney. And they're like, whoa, slow down. And he's what are they called? He said, the Rabbitohs. And they say, what's that mean? The Rabbits? And he's like, yeah, the Rabbit and the Rabbitohs are the same. They're not the same at all. That's not why they're called the Rabbitohs.
Now, one thing I think that was a Volandi engineered for Landy.
Do you know why they're called the Rabbitohs? He got his shills on what
I do, and actually this relates to the story I'm about to tell now.
Wonderful. I shouldn't have interrupted
I think
you
Volandi's has gone for a bit of a viral marketing play. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw this, Jousters, but in the weeks leading up to the game, and this isn't a joke. It sounds like the setup for a joke. In the lead up to the Las Vegas Round Zero, David Letterman was interviewed wearing a South Sydney Rabbitohs jersey by 2 old women. And he said to these 2 old women, I have purchased a rugby league team in South Sydney, Australia. And they're called the Rabbitohs. And they said, they're called the Rabbits. And he said, no, they're called the Rabbitohs. And they said, why are they called the Rabbitohs? And Joust, if you don't know this, the reason they're called the Rabbitohs was because when the rugby league was founded in 1908 at the Ship Inn in Sydney, you look at great things through history, the Treaty of Versailles, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact,
of course,
the formation of the rugby league at the Ship Inn in Sydney. At the time, it was still common for people in South Sydney, which was amongst the poorer parts of Sydney, to
a working class town,
a proper labour stronghold, working class. It was still popular for them to eat rabbits. There was a man in a trolley or a cart or whatever. He'd roam around the neighbourhood. He's selling rabbits for your dinner, and he'd go around and saying, Rabbito, I'm the Rabbito. Come purchase your rabbits, make your rabbit pie, your rabbit stew.
It was a mobile butcher.
You will. He was a mobile butcher. But selling rabbits. And so that, Joust, is where the name Rabbito comes from. It's the man who sold the rabbits that you would turn into stew to have for dinner because you had 14 children in a 1-bedroom house.
In that region, it was a bit of a struggle. It was a very, very affordable meat. And you could do whatever you like with it. You could stew it, you could fry it, you could put it in.
You have little drumsticks, little rabbit drumsticks.
Little rabbit drumsticks. You have a leg, and they'll say, oh, chicken good, and you say, no, it's rabbit. And then they would say, step back, please, sir.
I've eaten rabbit. It actually kind of does taste a bit like chicken.
Does it really?
Yeah,
have you had it before?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Of course.
I worked at a tapas restaurant, and a tapas chef put it on the menu. It was really good.
Fancy now. Fancy.
Yes,
well,
used to be peasants' food. All peasants' foods are fancy, and poor people like Nagy can only eat gruel.
Yes, man. Yeah. Gruel. I always thought gruel was more if you chopped up, like if you had Wheat Bix and you poured milk on them, and then you let it sit, and then you
shoveled up the mush.
Well, the mush is like the closest thing we have to gruel, but also Wheat Bix is very affordable.
What was your Wheat Bix record?
When I decided to try to eat the most, I had to beat my housemate Seth at the time. I believe it was 17.
Really? Because my sister and I used to compete back when I was in maybe year 3, she was in year 1.
Yeah.
I think she got 14 and I got a dozen.
Right, so you lost to your sister
I did, and I'm not ashamed to say it. She's a powerful eater.
She is.
She's a powerful eater, and she destroyed me by 2 whole Wheat Bix.
The better McNeil, possibly? I don't know.
Not possibly. Certainly. You've seen the tangents that my life has gone. You've seen the roller coaster of my life.
Well done, Lauren. And obviously, the second game. So we had this game that just went back and forth between the Rabbits and Manly.
The actual footy.
We went score for score. The Rabbits are up, and the Manly was up, and then who knows what.
And there was
happened.
all that talk about being a narrower field to be boring up the guts rugby league. But no, this was a widespread, wide-ranging game built for wingers. wingers.
Yes.
Built for wingers. And as a former winger, I was so glad.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. It was side to side. It was exciting.
It was.
The superstars stood up, from a game that is becoming increasingly reliant on great fullbacks. A game that is now, the superstar is your number one at the back. I think the first game we saw two of the best, Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell. And boy, didn't they put on a show.
These could possibly be our centres or possibly fullback for the New South Wales Blues later in the season. And they both put on a great show. Good to see Tommy Turbo back and with a solid frame around him and running freely without any injuries.
But I think the best thing that the Seppos will relate to in the first 20 minutes, there was a fair bit of blood. A couple of blokes got cut open pretty early. There was, stitches being put in. There was heads being strapped.
Stable gun with Michael DeVere.
It was Mick DeVere's worst nightmare happening all over again.
He came back.
And I think that's, the Seppos will react to that.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, no helmets. They just get cut on the head.
Separatists, is that what we're saying?
Seppos.
Seppos. What, unpack that for me.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking you back to the 80s, the halcyon days of the Australian rhyming slang. And it used to be, obviously, Americans were called the Yanks. What rhymes with Yank? Septic tank. Septic tank then became Seppos, and the Americans became the Seppos. So basically it was, we named you Seppos because you stink.
After the game of Manly versus South, which was 60 points scored, there was just tries going everywhere.
Very indicative of South's season last year. They were strong for 55 minutes, looked great, looked like world beaters.
Strong to round 11. A bit of a fall after that, but they did come across the might of the Newcastle Knights. But then we had the Broncos versus the Roosters, which was a completely different style of rugby league.
It was much more of a game for the rugby league purists, which is a hard one to translate to an American audience because, the rugby league purists, we like things that don't necessarily translate to being big and flashy and highlight plays. There was still plenty, don't get me wrong.
The 1%ers.
The 1%ers that the foreigners, those foreigners, they don't get it.
They don't appreciate
it.
They want flash, bang, boom, breasts and things. That's what they want in Vegas, Liam. It's all knitted in excitement.
It's bangs and booms and explosions and front bits. But I think even the 1%ers were done particularly well and particularly effusively, so much so that even that game, as a game for the purists, could be enjoyed by the non-purists. The dirty people.
Soon to be purists, possibly.
Soon to be purists, But, I think it was really just, and before we get into the controversy about the field goal, I think we should just discuss that. It seems like it has been a really, really good success. I think they got 40,700 maybe people in the stadium. The other beauty of it as well was to a television audience.
Yes.
Looked and sounded incredible. The stadium, Allegiant Stadium, it's built so much so that the acoustics sound insane.
Like Suncorp,
if you have 10,000 people in there, it sounds like you've got 50,000 at the Homebush Stadium that no one ever seems to go to.
Yes, right.
And so I think as a product, it looked incredible. I think the commentators did a really good job of describing the game in a manner that Americans could relate to.
Unpacked it softly.
They unpacked it well. I mean, Ganane and Andrew Voss, they're two of the best callers in the game. I think they really made it very understandable, relating it obviously to American football in a lot of ways, a lot of context.
They weren't speaking to idiots though. It wasn't like
they didn't talk down though. Yeah, you're right.
It wasn't like they've passed it. They've passed it backwards as per the rules. Like it wasn't anything like added. It was just anything that happened. They just
white ball. Go back.
Yeah,
they didn't say that once.
They just say, he's kicked it forward, which is allowed under the rule. It was just, there was assumed knowledge.
Now, you'll notice the player running. This is okay
all right.
in the game of rugby league.
We've allowed this.
We've allowed it.
They just unpacked
There's a man with a whistle. He's not off the street, ladies and gentlemen. He is a fully trained professional member of the rugby league.
He's there to control the game, guys. And it was just enough. So anything that would happen, they would unpack it. And there was a new rule that they had to unpack for us because it's brand spanking new. It's only 2 weeks old. As Valandi's style, he's like, guess what, guys? I know you know and love the game the way it is. I'm changing it a little bit. And he decided to go after field goals, Liam. Field goals.
I'm a huge fan of field goals, Nagy. I think they're a wonderful part of the game, especially when it comes to very tight games, very gritty games, emotional games.
It's a shit your pants sort of go-to, isn't it? Like I'm shitting myself. They're going for a field goal when nothing else is working.
And I don't get that. A lot of rugby league fans, they hate that, the last couple of minutes of close games, it becomes a field goal-a-thon. I think
love
that's
it.
fantastic.
I do love it.
Again,
Yeah,
I think it comes from our rugby union backgrounds, where
Yes.
field goals are a much more important part of the game than in rugby league.
more valuable.
Not much more valuable, numerically, if not only in terms of morals. Morale.
Morale.
Yeah, I know field goals are a highly immoral act, but in terms of morale, they're huge. But this new rule, Nagy, if we could just cast your eye to the screen there, and to those listening in audio only, the new rule, Nagy, states, I believe, that you may not have more than one player standing shoulder to shoulder in an attempt to block the player kicking the field goal.
Sort of like
Is that correct?
I believe so. It's sort of this Parramatta Wall sort of situation.
Penrith Wall.
No, well, they had Parramatta Wall back in their run.
Yeah, well, they had the Berlin Wall back in the 70s.
They had a lot
No one
of
gives a shit
walls.
about that
We
anymore.
love walls.
Yeah.
But I think
China?
I think this
They got a pretty good one.
they also have a wall. Yep.
This might be controversial, Jousters.
Yeah.
I think I could drop kick a Steeden over the Great Wall of China.
I thought you were going to say something else regarding the American and Mexico border, but okay. There is.
Yeah, aren't we glad the Mexicans pay for that wall, Donald?
There is a bit of a concern from me, Liam, as we see this image here. If we see the defenders running through
here.
And I'll just point out to everyone listening audio-wise.
And to our American listeners.
And the American listeners, all 30,000 of them. You have the kicker of the ball, and then you got it's just someone just standing in the play. And the defenders now know and understand the rules that they can't be obstructed. So do they run towards the kicker, or do they run towards the person just standing there in an act that would look like they've been obstructed?
Now, I have two controversial takes here, Nagy.
Please.
The first one being that if you look closely at this image, with Victor Radley standing by Lindsay Collins, I don't think he's standing by him to form a wall. It just looks like he's touching his bum.
He's touching his bum.
He's just gone up, stood a bit behind him, touched his bum, and all of a sudden, bam, the field goal is denied. Now, the second thing, Nagy,
It's a bum touch.
second
Yeah,
thing,
yeah. Classic bum touch, yeah.
regardless of the bum touch,
As old as the game itself, 1908.
as old as life itself is the bum touch.
There was a bum touch.
Now, the other thing, Nagy, this really goes against something the NRL have been pushing for the last few years, and you especially see it from retired playmakers who are in commentary.
Yes.
They say it's all about protecting the kicker. The last few years, the NRL has been all about protecting the kicker. The
bunker?
Now, the bunker
the banker.
especially.
Yeah.
Now, how much less can you protect a kicker than by saying, you're not allowed anyone there. Anyone can run at you as fast and as hard as they like and attempt to destroy you, but it's okay.
But it's all right.
But it's all right.
But it's okay.
So it kind of contravenes an earlier rule that the NRL made up, again, on the fly, without consultation of the members of the Joust.
It's, of course.
It's in contravention of the Geneva Convention.
It's a bit of a prickly pear, Liam, in Las
prickly
Vegas. They're famously done by, of course, Nicolas Cage in Leaving Las Vegas. But before we jump into everything Newcastle Knights, we're going to take a halftime break and we'll be right back. Everything Newcastle Knights, trials, upcoming games, and
Tribulations.
red, blue, and all the rest.
Breasts.
Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Now, Liam, we had 5 months of nothing. Darkness.
Was it that many months? It felt like 400.
I think so. I think
Oh
what
my
about
God.
but somewhere between 5 months and 400 months of nothing. But then we were treated with not one but 2 games of trials and tribulations.
A double dose of each.
Yeah. And it was different to trials of previous years. If you remember
Was
back,
it? I generally thought that the trials in previous years were also games of rugby league played in the lead up to the season. Was this different?
Well,
Was this year a change?
Well,
The Landys tinkered with the rules again. Thanks, Peter.
well,
You know, Andrew Abdo really escapes a lot of critique on this show. He's as guilty as any.
yes. Well,
Ah.
that's going to be the whole show now. Me just saying well to Liam's remarks. No, it's a much more refined trial now where everything's filmed as if it is a rugby league start of the season round. You
I
know,
think
these-
they've been doing
these
that for a while
trials,
as well now.
My cousin Vinny.
They've been televising trial games of rugby league for many years now.
No, a few years ago you had to go on the internet and watch
dark
them,
web.
stream them.
Yeah.
and buy cocaine
Ugh.
and things like that.
We don't like that in rugby league.
No. Well, Well, unless you're playing. If you're playing, no. But
if you're a follower or a supporter,
well,
or anyone in Newcastle.
If anyone in Newcastle, yeah. But there was two trials. The first one, it was against a less than exciting Sharks team, and
missing two of their big stars in Braden Trindle and Nico Hines. Their starting halves combination.
They weren't there. There were also a few
Dal
others.
Finyoken.
Like
it was
Mortal Kombat.
It was Ken's finishing move in Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat, mate. Come on.
Oh, I thought it was. I got the
Hadouken was clearly Ken's finishing move in Street Fighter.
I had a PlayStation. So
I don't have anything. I got a hand-me-down Super Nintendo with the game Playmates.
You could play it arcade though with the big knobs.
My favourite arcade game, Nagy, was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. It was great. It was so sick. You could have 4 people on it.
Probably didn't need the mask in the end. Well, you needed to identify the different turtles, but otherwise they didn't really disguise themselves as being these huge mutant turtles.
Hey, they had coloured belts too.
Did they? I thought it was just the masks.
No, it was the belts as well.
They had the weapons that were different, because God forbid you have...
I was a Leonardo guy.
Which one's...
blue with the...
The blue, yeah.
Spikes.
Michelangelo was always on the comic relief.
Which is funny, given that he's arguably the more artistic of the group. I believe he painted the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, well, he named after all the
as
artists.
a turtle.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That's
They've got
pretty
flippers. And yet he used it to create some of the greatest pieces of art of the Renaissance period.
He did, yeah.
You couldn't make that up. You could not make that up.
Trained by a rat. Yeah. Trained by a rat. But the Sharks, Liam, they came up against the Sharks, and it was a bit... Early on, there was a lot of concerns because the Sharks, with an underdone side, scored 2 tries in the first 11 minutes. And it was sort of like, oh, hang on a second, what's going on here? I know what's going on here. Disappointment.
See, we entered the stadium a bit late. I was there with a couple of McNeils, Chris, my Uncle Steve, my father. We entered the stadium a bit late and we got in and they said, oh my God, a night player's committed suicide.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And it seemed like Christian Mapapaleni decided of the opening hit-up that he was just going to commit seppuku on the field there.
He just go bang.
He hurled himself
straight in
at a Sharks player with no regard for his own health.
No.
Didn't pay off.
It didn't.
And it was all downhill from there for 20 minutes.
For at least 11. At least 11 minutes. It was really, really tight. And then the Sharks got...
And then it wasn't.
Tony Katoa got the second try. And then thought, hang on, the Knights were just full of errors. You see, I was watching it with a fellow. A good mate of mine, and I said to him, Matt Croker's going to be the new leader of the game, future captain.
I believe you set him as your phone background screen.
He is my phone background screen, and I said,
and he's a great man. We love Croaks.
I love Croaks, and I thought, he just had the perfect season last year. He's going to be the kind of player we want him to be this year. And then...
Peden-esque, perhaps.
And then everything he touched turned to absolute shit. Absolute shit. There was drop balls. There was just everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Matt Croker. And I still love him. But...
For the rest of the team, he didn't know.
Yeah, once we got all those pineapples out of the way, and then it was sort of, okay, now we can get back to playing some good, honest rugby league, a lot with some of the more extended bench, Liam.
And that was the wonderful thing that stood out to me, is that so much of the good that happened was from new players and young players proving themselves in the hardest gladiatorial arena.
There's a player that only just made it into the top 30 limit, and I think everyone saw him and thought, who's this guy? He looks good. And he's from Fiji, and you can pronounce his name
Leitaya Mokandreki. Leitaya Mokandreki. Now, if you look at Leitaya, reminds me a bit of Edric Lee that he's so long.
Yeah.
He's long. There's so much length to him.
Go gadget. Leckies.
Go gadget, everything. Every part of him seems to extend.
Yeah. And he did.
Yeah.
And he did extend it.
And the other one as well, I think we're talking standouts now. We may as well
talk about
Fletcher
standouts.
Sharp. I thought young fullback Fletcher Sharp.
Because he started at fullback. And I think I was watching there going, who the hell is this guy?
Waratah Mayfield Jr., for those playing at home, played for the Cheetahs in his younger years. Very Pappenhausen-esque. I found him to be very elusive, very
Slight fellow.
explosive, a slight fellow, much like Pappenhausen, who, in most traditionalist minds, doesn't have the build to play NRL, but Pappenhausen, I think, himself proved that build isn't all that a player needs to be good in the fullback position.
That's very
and
true.
then his whole body started exploding. So, Fletcher Sharp, sorry about that, bud.
I was a little bit, I was concerned initially because I feel like the starting lineup against the Sharks, who didn't have a strong lineup, I thought we were struggling. We were making mistakes. But then this...
it was 40 degrees, to be fair.
Well, it's 40.
It was stinking.
And in Gosford. No one wants to be there. And I lived quite
really
close
don't.
to there. Yeah. And it's but then
it's not great.
But then we saw tries from the Dylan Lucas, the Riley Jones, Lucas again.
The David Armstrongs, perhaps.
Oh, how strong
the
can
Will
he get?
Prices, perhaps.
Yeah, well, didn't Will Price have a moment, about a 10-minute period there, where there just seemed to be... It was all Will Price.
It was.
Yeah.
And he was,
No Ponga, by the way. No Ponga. So it was...
Who?
Who?
We don't need him.
Don't need him.
And, that right-hand edge, I think, of Tom Jenkins and David Armstrong feeding off Will Price's fast hands and feet really got me just thirsty.
Gosh, I'm a big fan
thirsty.
I like the cut of Tom Jenkins' jib.
It's a good jib.
Yeah.
It's a very good jib. A tall man, a pale man, a country boy.
A country boy.
What better combination could you have?
He's huge.
Huge.
Loves a bit of contact.
Probably grew up on a beef farm.
Probably.
Ate steak for breakfast every day.
Well, he
Steak
seems
and
like
eggs.
more of a traditional guy that just grew up on a farm. All parents
He's got
grew up on
farm
farms.
strength.
Yeah,
Yeah,
farm
he's got farm
strength. Yeah. It's it becomes very difficult to look at both games because after the Sharks, we played against the Storm,
Which was a stinker.
Yes, it was. It was
a bad game.
We thought 44 to a whole lot less, and we thought, we're going to give the Storm a good run for their money. They've got a stronger side. We're playing over there internationally.
Let's be worse.
Let's be worse.
And now, the most disappointing thing as well was because this was a homecoming for our Safiti boys. It was, of course, held in Fiji.
And for the player that you
the
mentioned
land
before,
of their ancestors.
the player
Lataya Mokandraki, also Fijian. Yeah, it was a bit of a homecoming for those boys, and
5 tries to 2 wasn't
do great.
It wasn't the
Didn't do
best. It felt a little
Melbourne
bit like,
probably could have scored another 4.
Yeah, probably. They also probably rotated their stars in and out, but we got found out. Joe
Especially
Pezzett,
through the middle, I was worried. They got bullied through the middle. Tui Kamikamitha, also a homecoming for him. Maybe that's why he was so impressive. He was just bullying the Knights forward pack right through the guts of the field.
Yes.
But the way I see that game now, you can look at a trial game in 2 ways.
Yes.
You can have a successful trial,
Of course.
score a lot of points,
Yes.
win the game, and immediately go and do, hey, we're premiers. This is amazing. We're going to win the competition. Or you can lose by a fair bit, play terribly, and just say, that doesn't matter.
Yes.
Trial games don't matter. And so I went from one extreme to the next within the space of 8 days or something.
8 minutes.
I put the house on winning the premiership, and then we got touched up in Fiji. And sorry, darling, we don't have a house anymore.
No, that's right. It's gone.
It's gone.
It's now just some Fijian property developer.
Yeah, but with the benefit of hindsight, I look back at the Melbourne game and I say, look, that was nothing more than an excuse to blow out the cobwebs. I'm not taking anything from it more than the fact that we needed that to get the rust out.
Yeah.
Sand down the spots that needed sanding down.
Matt Grady
and we can
wasn't
apply
there.
the lacquer. That training.
I think there's.
Do you sand things before you lacquer them?
I think so.
Like a deck?
Like
You
a
sand the
deck.
deck?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
sand the deck, and then you lacquer it.
Newcastle
Because-
Knights are like a deck.
Why can't you just lacquer over the top of the existing lacquer?
Probably because there's leaves on there.
Probably leaves.
If it's a deck, because it's outside.
Yeah, it's deck. That's
You don't want to lacquer over the leaves.
No, you can't. If there's
lacquer
anything
over
we can tell you, this is do not lacquer over leaves.
And we can't tell you much definitively, Justice.
Neither of us are decksmen, mind you.
We are not decksmen.
We cannot promote the proper practice.
And nor are we lacquerists.
No, we're not lacquerous. That's chemicals.
chemicals.
In the end, it's just chemicals, Liam. You can call it paint if you like. But look, there's...
Oh, my God. Is lacquer just paint?
Oh.
That's shiny?
I don't know. It's hollow. It's see-through. It's, but it does something for the weather. But there's it's hollow. There is an interesting thing with the new players that have come to the side, come to the team, which I like to call the new kids on the block, Liam.
Yes.
And it's there they are there within their suits.
What famous songs did they actually have? People talk about them all the time
they-
throughout my whole life. I don't think I've ever heard one of their songs.
I could sing
Were they
it.
a real band?
Yeah. Well,
You
they
can sing
were
me one?
well.
Would you sing me one?
Oh,
that was New Kids. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The
There you go.
right
I've
stuff.
heard one New Kids on the Block song.
Yeah. It was Donnie Wahlberg. Yeah.
Was he like the 7th Wahlberg?
No, he was just the older Wahlberg. Yeah,
Oh,
the
so
one that
he was the
wasn't.
first one.
He wasn't in jail at the time, so he decided to.
So that narrows it down.
Be in a band. I think that's how it worked in America back at that time. So, but
You're
like,
either in jail or a band.
that's right.
They're
You
the
only have two
they're
options.
the only two occupations in America.
But if we go
band
through-
member or jailbird.
If we go through the exciting moments of the new kids on the block, the faces there. Obviously, we got the KPP. Not just be confused with KP.
Yeah.
KP, but we've added a P.
KP2.
And added a whole lot more talent, possibly less talent, most likely less talent, with Kai Pierce-Paul.
Yeah, big pommy fella. He actually walked past me at the Gosford game. We were sitting in the grandstand. The boys who didn't play, Bradman walked past. I said, yeah, there's a block of apartments. KP walked past.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, there's a god incarnate in human form. And then KPP walked past. And I looked up. Now, I went to Taiwan many years ago. I was in Taipei. I got to go visit on a bus tour, the tallest building in the world. Now, to see the tallest building in the world, I had to look
Up.
You can't see this, jousters who are listening, well, up.
Up.
I had to look up.
Jar your neck.
I almost broke my neck trying to
Yeah.
look how up Kai
Up it
Pierce-Paul was.
Yeah.
Like, he rivals Lataya Mokandrecki for length.
Yes.
He's so lengthy.
Again, you're like
Yeah.
ankles tiny, like
I
toothpicks.
think every good team
Yeah.
needs two lengthy boys, and I think we've got two of the lengthiest.
That's good.
Yeah, it's
for
amazing.
once we've got lengthy
Didn't
boys.
have a great game of rugby league, though.
Well, okay. But
Yeah.
he's coming back off a foot injury.
Yeah.
He's
Which the Knights controversially weren't
Weren't
informed
aware of.
about. Weren't aware of. But I think, Nagy, the biggest talking point, Nagy, the one that was bigger than all the other talking points, was the performance of the halves. The rugby league playing halves of the Newcastle Knights. There's several of them.
Yes.
We have a number of them now.
We do, yeah.
And I believe we have a graphic here on your screen. Now, these may look to you, Joust, like they are just inanimate floating heads, but we assure you they have bodies. They are able to play rugby league. And let's discuss those bodies.
And we've got the big heads and the slightly smaller heads. Which slightly bigger head, slightly smaller head will slot into the head slot?
Well, I think we know after Nathan Brown's tenure that Wayne Bennett is the small head down the bottom there.
Yes,
the very,
of course.
very tiny head.
He's a
That's
tiny
Wayne
head.
Bennett,
And
if Nathan Brown is to be believed. Yeah. But it seems like, and I think this is well deserved,
Yeah.
the first pick for halves, and we now know it, now that the team sheet is out. The first selection for the halves are Jackson Hastings in the halfback jersey.
Monk on leave.
The monk on leave. Tyson Gamble in the traditional role of the 5/8. Now, I think on the back of their performances last year, Nagy, that they do deserve to be picked.
114 tries in the regular season, Liam, and that's hard to let go. They were the orchestrators,
Yeah.
if you will. However, once the season continued on, the Knights dropped out. There was a player named Jack Cogger, who is not only the
Cog in the
graduate,
wheel.
not only the graduate of the School of Unremarkable Boys,
He's
but
the
I
namesake.
believe this is the Jack Cogger School of Unremarkable Boys. And he's decided to come back to the Newcastle Knights, but he did something quite unremarkable, which was against his education. That he did really, really well in a high-pressure game.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm going
Kicked
to
to 40-20.
put my hand
Oh,
up.
wait, we're talking grand final. I thought
Grand final, yeah. So I say, like, he did something that's quite remarkable that everyone thought, hang on a second, this guy must be good. And we already had signed him. It was a wonderful move by Peter Parr to actually sign a player that might be good, but before he might be good.
Now, at the risk of this episode going too long, I won't discuss Peter Parr, but I will come back to this later in the season, discussing that he may be the most important Newcastle Knights signing of the last few years. We'll touch on that later. But I want to come into defence now of Tyson Gamble. Tyson
my voice for a
responsibly. A lot of people in rugby league,
Yeah.
and when Tyson signed with the Knights, we were guilty of this. They see Tyson Gamble and his yelling and his screaming and his
Toughness.
his toughness and his going on, and they think he's nothing more than an unskilled junkyard dog.
Potentially.
Potentially. But
However.
what we saw, and again, this goes back to the fact that no one other than Knights fans actually watched Knights games.
No, that's
Last
right.
year, he played some really smart football.
He did.
He had, I think he kicked 40-20.
He did everything.
He threw very deft short balls. He
Yep.
threw big cutout passes. He was in the right place at the right time. The Canberra game was a great example. They bit him. You don't anger Tyson Gamble.
don't bite
a lot of footy fans would think if you bite Tyson Gamble, he's going to come up, swinging punches, and get angry and throw the game away. He did what people don't think he'd do. He put his head down and said, "I'm going to play rugby league at them."
Ooh.
He said, "I'm going to play rugby league and I'm going to direct it exactly at them." And he did it.
He did it.
And I think I'm really excited to see another year of Tyson Gamble for the reason I've just outlined.
Yeah,
a much smarter player than people give him credit for. A much, more classy player than people give him credit for. And I think outside Hastings, yes, they deserve to get the first spot because of their performances last year. But I think Tyson Gamble is going to outshine his reputation as just an angry bastard.
Tyson responsibly had a certain, I think he was the yang to Hastings' yin, if you will.
It's yin.
Yin?
It's not yang. Ying.
Yin?
It's yin yang, not yin yang.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yin.
He's so uncultured.
No uncultured. So I think the yin.
Have you even read Sun Tzu?
I can't read.
Look, I prefer Clausewitz's On War, but Sun Tzu's Art of War is also.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah. I prefer the sequel also. Yeah. So there's the yin of Tyson Gamble to the yang of Jackson Hastings. I've swapped them around.
Ding dang.
Ding dang.
Yeah.
Yin yang. And I think when Tyson's at his best is when the team is moving forward. When we have the ascendancy and we're scoring points. Tyson Gamble looks like he has lots of options.
I disagree.
When he looks like he needs to create something when we're got on at heels, he struggles. I don't think he's a natural ball player, Liam.
I disagree. I think that Tyson Gamble is at his
best. We have
best.
our first disagreement on the Joust in our entire career. So
I think Tyson Gamble is at his best when someone tries to chow down on his arm.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
so I think you'll agree there. We turned a disagreement into an agreement. But we got to talk about the other halves, Nagy, because, again, this is such an issue we've never had at the night before. There's more than one good one.
Yes.
Now, I think we're going to see Hastings make way for Cogger. Couple of weeks in.
Injury-wise or form-wise?
I'm going to go form-wise.
Okay.
So I think Cogger showed again, like you said last year, his pedigree, his skill. But we haven't even talked about the Will Price of it all now. When we're
The
talking
Will
about
Price. The Will Price of it.
The
Will Price of living.
Yeah.
It's on everyone's minds. You know, it can't be ignored. Inflation.
I like that there was a very easy Price is Right joke there, and you didn't make it. I respect that.
No.
But now this, again, very out there. But let's talk halves in the upcoming season. Cogger and Price.
Oh, that's so you got
Cogger and Price.
Gamble goes to a lock.
I don't know if he goes to 14. I don't know if he goes to the bench. I don't know if he goes to Reggie's, but I think what's his name? Will Price. Give Will Price half a year in reserve grade to prove himself, to become accustomed to playing rugby league in, a weather that isn't dreary Manchester rain.
Yes.
And I think you're going to see a Jack Cogger, Will Price halves pairing around 12.
Yeah, you've heard it here first, but also we got the same conversation.
You didn't. I think I heard that on another podcast.
You got the same conversation, or a very similar conversation happening not only with the very players that we're talking about in the halves role, but also in the full back to backs role potentially. We've got the backs. We'll go to the backs. The backs role there.
Because the fullback's going to be KP. We know it. There's no
KP is going to be there until he's not
Will
there.
Will Price maybe is a fill-in, Fletcher Sharp, but that's all we have to say about fullbacks. It's KP.
We got Greg Marju, and then we've got the bus. We got
Sid Foggs,
Bradman Best, the thumb,
the block of apartments. That is the densest centre wing combination in the league.
It is.
It's so dense.
It's got
a lot of mass to
mass.
Yeah,
it's thick. Isn't it thick? On the other side, though, we've got Danga guy, who we love, but is also about 47 years old.
He's so old.
He's getting on.
He's so old.
And then we got
I believe he was referenced in the Old Testament.
Anari Tawala, who has been teaching at the school for unremarkable boys during this time.
And again, for those watching, you'll see the Anari Tawala. Doesn't he look like Fu Manchu?
Well, everyone says at the team that he's such a good-looking man.
What's the bad guy in that Queen song that they made a movie about, The Rocket Man?
I think you've referenced 7 things, Liam. 7, and I can't grip on anything. On to the next one.
Anari Tuala has been named to start, so he will be the initial winger, but I would like to see our tall, big, pale country boy come into the side in Thomas Jenkins.
Thomas Jenkins there. But who else is also in contention? We have...
we've got a couple of other beauties. We've got our aforementioned long boy. Ty Mokandrecki. I think he'll... if you can put him on the... what side does Greg play? Greg plays the left
side.
So if you can put Mokandrecki on the right
side
and just kick to him all day.
That's 2 wingers.
That's 2 wingers.
Yeah.
If you just put him on the right side, just kick to him all day, you'll score 40, 100 tries. But we also have the Dylan Armstrong. Obviously had a great trial against the Sharks. Scored a couple of tries. David Armstrong.
His brother Dylan.
Brother Dylan.
There's so many Armstrongs out there. It's really tough to tell. And of course...
And then the other guy who's
Mappy.
in the picture. Oh, Maps. I forgot about him because he killed himself. maybe he'll come back from his horrifying concussion. Maybe he won't. But he is another one I think he had an ACL injury last year, so we haven't seen much of Christian Mahabalangi.
Shoulder reconstruction, I believe.
As you can see on the graphic there, he is alive. We do know him to be alive. We saw a picture of him with today's newspaper.
He gave the thumbs up as he was being stretched off.
So I think the backs, and the other thing as well that we don't talk about a lot in rugby league, but you see a lot in other sports that are real sports, is that Dane Gagai being 400 years old, they will need to manage his game time and what they call in other real sports load management. So there's no way Dane Gagai plays a whole season fit or otherwise. So there is a spot for any of these young tyros that we have down there to slot in, because I think you'll have to see, and AOB's a smart man. He listens to the show. He takes, he takes what we say as gospel. And so I think Gagai is going to have a couple of weeks off here and there, and we're at a point now where we finally have some fairly astute, able, capable replacements.
Good, honest, capable replacements. If we go
hard-working rugby league men.
If we go to the team list, I think for the first time, excuse the breath there, if we go to the team list, it's the first time where we see the reserves 18 through 22. These are players that I would like to see in the side at some point.
Isn't it strange?
Jed Cartwright, first grade player. Thomas Jenkins, first grade player. If we
the other guy,
they're all first grade players. Thomas can't.
Oh boy, I hope he can.
I hope he can too. Brodie Jones, another 40-plus game first-grade player.
Also used, interestingly, in the trials, playing that very Adam Elliott role in the middle, distributing right, distributing left. More passes than he had runs, if I do my maths correctly.
Will we see the first time that AOB has an opportunity to not have a pack, but that real rotation that he's always spoken about, the next man up? Will we see the next man up for all these positions? It's not, you haven't been dropped. It's just that you've worked really hard, and you've worked so hard, you've got to be dropped.
Yes. That's interesting that you all laugh at that. You deride that comment, but that's what won the Springboks the Rugby World Cup final in 2019.
Yeah.
Jake White was very much of the opinion that you go out there, you bust your ass, and I'm going to hook you.
Yeah.
But he had all the analytics. He had the GPS tracker. He had the heart rate monitors on them. And getting taken off, getting dropped was a source of pride, because he said, all right, you go out there, you give everything you have. You leave it all on the field.
Yeah.
You're going to get hooked because you did so well. You're not going to get hooked because you've dipped. He'd say, all right, the second you drop beneath your optimal performance, you're coming off because you've done absolutely everything you can. That's fantastic. You've done your country very proud. You're a good boy.
Yeah.
And so I think now that we have the backups, you are going to see that. You're going to see Adam O'Brien saying to some players, you have been doing remarkably well.
Yeah.
It's not manageable or feasible for you to do this over an entire season. So
27 rounds, not feasible.
It's a lot. That's a lot of rounds.
Yeah.
So there are, I think, if Adam O'Brien listens to the Joust, which I know he does,
yeah.
there are going to be players who are high profile, who are playing really well, who get dropped out of necessity.
Yes.
And again, it's not something the Knights have had the luxury of doing.
Oh, God.
Over the last couple of seasons, or ever, really.
Ever, really.
And so that's exciting, like you said, to see the extended bench have players who we're actually excited to see, especially when it comes to the forward pack.
It has,
yeah.
The forward pack, again, we have a similar sort of conversation with we've got two Safitis, one in that we start with, one spare.
Those tricky Safidi boys.
We keep
they've done it again.
We keep Daniel Safidi in the boot, just in case the first Safidi goes flat. But of course, even the
it's all right. We put him in the boot, but we gave him a popper and a muesli bar
and a tube so he can breathe. Thomas can't. I hope he can. Of course, Matt Croker, the man who is on my phone's wallpaper, who I really, really hope. Adam Elliott, the forgotten guy that always does a job for 50 minutes. And
does a really good job for 50 minutes. The Knights were noticeably better when he came back from his injury last year, I think it's safe to say.
Jack Hetherington,
had
the
a
slapper.
Shocker of a trial, though.
The slapper.
The slapper.
I guess
Jack of the slapper, the man who grew up in the Gunya Hotel. And of course, let's talk Leo Thompson. I'm so excited for Leo Thompson this year. If you look back to the International Rugby League that was played over the 4 seasons or whatever in the off-season.
The Maoris and the Indigenous side, yeah.
No. Way further back.
Sorry.
The Kiwis versus the Kangaroos in the Four Nations.
Of course, yes.
In the final.
Yeah.
Where the Kiwis spanked the Kangaroos. Leo Thompson, he was the best player on the ground.
Huge, yeah.
And this was the two finest rugby league teams on earth, the Kangaroos and the New Zealand Kiwi men,
clashing together.
He outplayed James Fisher-Harris, the best prop in the rugby league world.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really excited for Leo Thompson this year. And then in the middle of the middles,
the hookers.
The hookers, sweet cherry pie,
apple of her eye, 4th of July.
She was a hooker. Phoenix, best player in the NRL. Obviously, I think he'll make the end of season international tour, be it for Australia and New Zealand. The man has the choice. Maybe Clive Churchill medal might be in his future.
He's got a lot of things going for him at the moment, considering
and to think that at the start of last season, every single life form on this planet was saying he was the worst player in rugby league.
They did say that.
They said it.
Some of them still say that.
No, we didn't actually.
No. Jaden Brayley out again, injured. Not a huge surprise, but also Riley Jones making some really good first steps into first grade.
He's a Harry Grant-esque player. He manipulates the ruck.
Yeah.
He works around the markers. He makes the markers do things they don't want to do.
Manipulator.
Yeah, he manipulates them.
Liam, if we're looking at the Canberra Raiders coming up, is there any final thoughts on the Canberra Raiders side that they've come up against? No Jack Wyden, no Frawley, the both two players that played against us in that last game. What are your thoughts coming up against the Canberra Raiders? Can we do it at home? Packed stadium. From the top to the bottom. I don't know what stadium tops are called. From the rafters to the floor. I guess that's the two things.
Well, you pretty much nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, where we shine here at the Knights is just being better than them.
Yes.
But at the same time, I loathe to tip against a Ricky Stewart side. Ricky's one of those guys, he gets you back up against the wall.
Angry.
Everyone hates us for no reason.
Yeah.
Which there's lots of reasons why people hate Ricky Stewart. Everyone hates us for no reason.
There's also...
And then gets angry when people tell him they hate him.
Chewing on the nicotine gum. There's a few ex-Knights players there in that.
Several.
There's, of course, we've got the Soul Man, as well as Danny Levi, as
Joseph Tarpanay, of course.
Simi Sasagi in the extended.
Hudson Young, Maitland Jr.
Oh, there we go. So I can tell you what, they're like a...
Ricky loves the hunter.
They're like a Newcastle Light.
They are Newcastle Light.
They had the milk as a sponsor. Who knew it was light milk from the hunter? It was incredible.
That was a stretch.
That
was a stretch.
I'll keep
but
going.
I think our strength lays in an area we didn't quite discuss, the second row.
Yeah.
Tyson Frizzell, I think, has been moved to the left edge to be playing with Bradman Best and Greg the Bus, which I think is a huge move. That's fantastic. Dylan Lucas as well.
They want fridges on that side.
It's Harvey Norman out there. Yeah. There's just a left side.
Fridges and couches.
Stacked with appliances and homewares. Absolutely
all the white
stacked.
goods.
And
they're all out there. They're boxy. They're thick. They're hard to move, Liam.
And they got a lifetime warranty. We've got them for good. And Dylan Lucas, who I think really proved himself last year to be a capable first grader.
I think so.
Showed lots in the trials. I think we've got a really, really good player there. And then KP2. Yeah. I mean...
KP squared,
I'm
possibly.
so excited to see KP squared. It's not funny.
Yeah.
And then, you know what? Send the Mist on. And I think Adam O'Brien last year, I can't remember the exact quote, but Adam O'Brien said to the Mist, he said, you go out there.
And you do the thing.
You go nuts.
Yeah.
And you're done.
And you're done.
That's it. It was very simple. They often talk about simplifying a rugby league player's role. You couldn't make it more simple. Go out, go nuts, come home. That's it.
Liam, I think Daniel Saifidi is the most player under pressure this season. I know Jaden Brayley is on a lot of money, but he plays a real specialist...
Different pressure.
He plays a specialist position that's really hard to fill, and he has those leadership qualities. We haven't seen the best out of Daniel Saifidi the last 2 years. Jacob has taken his his starting role.
That's only because Adam didn't know which one was which.
No, the switch.
A la the send-off.
Oh,
we forgot to discuss that. That was funny.
That's right.
You all know what happened, Jousters.
We all know that happened. They tried to do the switcheroo, the Parent Trap. Was it who's the girl that plays the Parent Trap?
Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan.
Sean knows every dive in town.
It was Lindsay Safi.
She's no swimmer, though. Yeah. But, Nagy, before we wrap up, I have one brief tirade,
if you will,
that I'm going to make about the wider rugby league community and the narrative that surrounds Kalen Ponga. Now, we've been hearing it all through the off-season, these great fullbacks, especially these great fullbacks. Your Latrell Mitchells, your Tom Trebojeviches, players who are phenomenal, remarkably good, don't get me wrong, but have had time away from the game due to injuries, due to suspensions. When you hear people talk about Manly, what do they say? They say if Tom Trbojevic stays healthy, Manly are going to be great. What do they say about Souths? If Latrell Mitchell can stay on the field unsuspended, they're going to be amazing. What do they say about Kalen Ponga? If Kalen Ponga gets injured, the Knights are fucked.
Yes.
And it really, really makes me quite angry because the other side of the coin is they say the Knights are only good because Kalen Ponga played 8 good games.
Yeah.
Imagine if he gets 24 good games. It's a little thing, I know, but it really annoys me because the narrative is that other teams have good players, and if the good players are good, the team will be good. But the narrative around the Knights is the Knights have a good player, but if the good player's bad, the Knights are bad. And it absolutely shits me to tears.
Shits you to tears, Liam. I can feel the shits. I can feel the tears because we're sharing one room.
They both come out the same.
The one hole.
But Nagy, in the spirit of Johnny Carson's great character,
We must
Karnak,
look forward, not backwards, backwards, not forwards. Twirling,
always twirling into the future and into the past if we must.
And it's better to look at our own predictions at the beginning of the season, Liam, because this is the best time to make predictions before anything has happened.
And let's be honest, Joust, we're just guessing.
What's your top 4, Liam?
Penrith.
Yeah.
Like, that's a given. Obviously, Penrith. That is, like, it's beyond belief. Also, great work, Sam, on getting the early 2000 Penrith logo. I love it. I think the Roosters are going to come second.
Okay.
The Roosters don't have 2 bad years in a row. I think it was 2009 they finished terribly. 2010 they got Todd Carney and ended up went to the preliminary.
There's a couple seasons.
Anyway, Trent Robinson Roosters team, they're not having 2 bad years in a row. They've got amazing players. They're going to rock it back up. I think the Broncos drop off a bit. Still, enough firepower to finish third. Melbourne, they had a terrible year last year. Finished third, made it to preliminary. Fuck Melbourne. Sorry, Shugs. I think they'll finish fourth, and again, it'll be a bad year for Melbourne.
Yeah.
But, the Roosters don't have 2 bad years. Melbourne don't have 2 bad years. The Broncos have caught lightning in a bottle. Penrith are Penrith. Who have you got?
Well, for me, I can't go about Penrith at number 1. I just think they know how to win NRL games. They've managed to do it year after year after year.
You've never seen it in the betting. They're paying 78 cents to win the premiership.
Yeah.
If you put money on them to win the premiership and they win, you lose money.
You lose money. Yeah.
Shouldn't have put the house on them either.
You're better off giving the money to TAB, they kick you in the nuts, and you both walk home.
Isn't that how betting works?
I think so. Basically, it is. The Broncos, I think, is the second side, only because of their squad. I think they look good. I think they I know they lost against the Roosters, but maybe I picked this before the Roosters. I don't know.
Trial match.
It's a trial
Oh,
match.
no, round 1. Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Round 0, sorry.
I think the Warriors can do it again at number 3. I think
daring man.
Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I think, with Sean Johnson, I think that's just the right balance. You got the
Plus another hyphen in the team. Like, the Warriors are best when they have a lot of hyphenated names.
Well,
adding
also,
another one into Tuivasa-Sheck, like, it's a recipe for success.
And my favourite name to say in the entire NRL, Charles Nickel Klukstar. Oh, it's gorgeous.
The good Maori Danish name.
The Roosters, I think it's about time that they push back up the ladder for the squad that they have. But if we're looking at the top 4, we have to look at your bottom 4, Liam. Who's anchoring this season?
Well, you could kind of throw any of these teams in a bundle and you wouldn't matter. I think the Titans, while they've signed Dez, everyone's very jazzed about it. Dez is a great coach, don't get me wrong.
Dez is a bit mental, though, let's be honest.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Will his mentalness work?
Yeah.
I think it won't for the first year. Dez's mental behaviour kind of takes 2 or 3 years, so I don't know about that.
The mad
Tigers, they've cleaned out at the top. They've hired Shane Richardson, which I think is a really underrated, signing.
Yes.
Obviously,
administration signing.
Administration.
Similar to Peter Power.
He's a bookman.
Yeah,
he's a bookman. And he was there who got South the premiership. So I think Shane Richardson changed it up. They got rid of the board. They've got some very good, promising young players.
Wasn't Michael Maguire also the guy that got the premiership?
Yeah.
And then he went there, and then he's been sacked since.
Shut up.
Okay.
St. George Illawarra, because they're just a perennial basket case, which is funny. I think they've got a new coach in Shane Flanagan.
They do.
Now, if the laws of rugby league are applied properly, Shane Flanagan won't be a coach long because he loves cheating. And so I think that's why they'll be down there. And the Dogs are just a basket case who have signed 40 new players, which is really bizarre. It's a 30-man squad, and they've signed 40 players.
They just keep signing
all of
people,
which are utilities. Yeah. And a coach in Cameron Serrato who didn't seem to do much last year. I think they're going to get a lot worse.
It's like someone went on holiday and they were like, "Hey, what do we need to do?" And they said, "Sign some utilities," and then that's all they did.
Yeah,
for the entire break.
And I think it's safe to say that the Tigers were not the worst team last year. I think it was the Bulldogs. Yeah. They just got lucky and won some games by a fair few points against a team they shouldn't have. And the Tigers lost very closely against some teams that they should have lost against. But yeah, Tigers weren't the worst team last year. The Bulldogs were, and I think they're going to get worse.
If you look at my bottom four, if you will, it's the Raiders. I think are going to fall.
That's daring.
Right down the ladder, Lamb. No Frawley, no White.
Ricky's going to be furious on his weekly call with us.
He'll probably firebomb my house, but I'm ready for it, and I'll have the hose.
And somehow
out.
it'll be your fault.
St. George will be there again for the basket, Caitness. Then we got the Bulldogs again for what you said. They've just signed this basket sort of play. It's like a lolly bag of players. Yeah, there's not really any rhyme or reason for them. They just look good. When you look in there and you go, they're all a bit different.
Now, my concern there is that you say that as though a lolly bag is bad. A mixed lolly bag is one of life's great joys. You reach in and you don't know what's coming out.
Do they still do that at children's parties anymore? Or has COVID killed that?
We sell them at my work.
Oh, wonderful.
We sell mixed lolly bags.
No, but like if you're leaving a child's party, they say, there you go, have a lolly bag.
Well, I don't go to many children's parties. So
well, okay.
Legally, I'm not allowed.
Well, la-di-da. Okay, and finally...
There was a fist fight with a 7-year-old. I'm just not,
The West Tigers are 17, and partly this is... I don't care if the Tigers finish there. They've gone through this big restructure. They've gotten rid of Nofaluma, and they've gotten rid of
Shane Richardson, Justin Justin Pascoe,
they've
Lee
done
Hajapantales.
a top to bottom clean out. But I really, really hope they get the spoon, because if they get the spoon, that's 3 spoons in a row, and there's
I was thinking that's why you picked them there.
the memory of the night's 3 spoons just makes it a little bit more distant. Big thank you to the Wigan Park Hotel. If you're going to watch anything Newcastle Knights, please check out.
They serve a delicious beer.
They do.
Oh, my Christ. Try the friggin' pork belly when you're there.
Yeah.
Oh, I had it the other way.
Walk me through it.
That was amazing.
Nice.
Oh, it was this big, thick slab, obviously. Yeah. Now, I grew up, I don't know about you, Nagy. I loved pork crackling growing up.
I did.
It was my favourite food.
Yeah.
And they get the crackling. It's like shards. You cut into it and it just explodes. With sharpness. It's
Cover
amazing.
your eyes.
And I asked the chef, Tim. I said, what's the secret? He said, well, we cook it for hours and hours and hours. Bang, deep fryer, crisp it up.
Oh, right. Oven to the fryer. The big transition, they call it.
Yeah. Amazing.
If you like us, please like us on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Instagram,
At the
Facebook,
pub, buy us a schooner.
TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, we're on TikTok
Sick.
now. Hey, that's
Cool.
cool. Apple Things.
Hey, China, you're welcome for getting our data.
China can find out all
You
about
heard
us.
me, Xi Jinping. Yeah, I see you.
And you can find out even more about us next week if you tune in. Thank you very much. Hopefully, the Knights can beat the Canberra Raiders. We'll see you again next week, Justice. Thank you very much.